going to talk about those irritations of life that get in the way and just become the sands in our shells. Those irritable moments. And, sometimes I know for myself, the conditions of life will line up in such a way, lack of sleep, lack of food in a timely manner, lack of things going the way that I thought they were going to go. Those things will line up in just like a perfect storm. And that's when I struggle to maintain that calm, addressing ability to respond in life. It can be in those times when it's all lined up like that, it can be just like a simple disappointment at work. It can be a look from someone where probably not even intended in my direction, but it sticks in my mind and I can't let it go. Those irritations, perhaps you've had them in your own life, that can grow over time, if not tended to, into full-blown negativity. One of my go-to books, this is one that lives on my nightstand, that I pick up when I feel like my mind is running amok with negativity, is this classic from Eric Butterworth, It's called Spiritual Economics. And I know on the surface it looks like it's a book about financial abundance, which it is. But for me, this book is much like an oracle. And when I pick it up, I can let it speak to me. So the other day, I picked up this book and I brought it in for my meditation time. And I opened it to this page, and it gives a powerful image of how we can work with these moments differently, these moments of negativity. And he talks about it as purling. I love that analogy. And he says that it's this concept that when negative stuff happens in life, we can get busy purling. And I have used that. I wrote it down in my journal, and I have used it ever since because I loved the image. And if you happen to have a copy of this book, you might find this little analogy that he gives on page 129, on page 128 actually, in this copy. And if you want to check it out, but it tells the story of an oyster. And an oyster lives a pretty peaceful life, but every once in a while, this grain of sand will get inside of its shell, and it hurts. It irritates. And at first, the oyster will resist it. But when it can't get rid of it, when it can't push it out of its shell, something absolutely amazing happens. This oyster, as you know, begins to cover the irritation layer by layer until it becomes, over time, transformation happens and it turns into a pearl. And I absolutely adore that teaching. I go to it again and again and again, that every irritation in my life, every difficulty, every painful moment holds within it this seed of transformation, this invitation, if you will, that I too can get busy pearling if I approach the irritation in a certain way. And as I was reading it, I got this image too of a pearl necklace, that the more irritations and the more negative thoughts and the more worries that I'm able to address and transform or just simply be with, give attention to, give mindful attention to, the more that I'm able to be with each of those things and calmly address them, calmly transform them, the more I begin to string together a necklace, a bracelet, if you will, of pearls. And those beautiful moments where I can actually see how this irritation is an invitation for me to grow, to expand, to move into a deeper companionship or at least relationship of compassion with this irritation that has come forward in my life. And that can be supremely challenging. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm like, oh, I just turned it into a pearl just by an easy flip of a switch. Sometimes it can be that way, but most of the time it takes my mindful being with over time to begin to transform my negative thoughts into something more positive, into something that it becomes a gift or a treasure, something valuable like a pearl in my life. So over time, we can begin to create a deeper sense of beauty, a deeper sense of connection, a deeper sense of well-being as the result of our practice. And it takes bringing those awareness to the negative thoughts, the negative places where I resist and push against, for me to begin to work with those things to create pearls or wisdom in my life. And I know for me, my first instinct is often to resist, to push away, even to complain. Oh, complaining. That'll really get me going. Complaining. If I'm a ways off from my spiritual routine, especially, I can really do it up and begin to dwell on those things that are irritating, scaring, or bothering me. And it comes up in the middle of the night, as I've spoke about many times before. But that irritation and that resistance just keeps that grain of sand alive, abrasively bothersome in this experience that is my life, this home, if you will. So what if instead of spending all that time resisting, we begin instead to wrap our challenges with prayer, with gratitude, and maybe open to a bit of a divine perspective, a grander perspective, layer by layer, until they have the opportunity to become pearls in life. These grain of sands that you might have in your life can turn into pearls of wisdom, into pearls of greater resilience, meaning that you have the strength to face challenges more and more as a result of coming to these challenges with a sense of spiritual practice. Maybe even with a deeper look, these pearls can over time become beauty. So gratitude has become one of my favorite practices. It becomes one of the quickest ways I know to transform something that is bothersome or to address and face a challenge. First, it takes my mind off of what's wrong and redirects my focus into appreciation. And over time, this creates an atmosphere, a vibrational field in my life. I can feel it in my own experience. I know when I've been tending to that string of negative thinking. I know it because I can begin to feel a sense of calm and a sense of comfort in my own experience. And also, I know that as I tend this vibrational field of more positive thinking, more positive relationship, and a more compassionate way of being with those things that are negative, irritating, or bothersome in my life, then I'm also able to share it in the space around me with those that I care for, with those I even meet out in the world. There's been a few times throughout my own life where I've experienced what has appeared to be a huge string of negative experiences. And I'll just use one group of those, which would be to take some steps backward financially. You know, I think I spoke in a Sunday service once about a time in my life where my entire condo burned to the ground unexpectedly. And I experienced a month of real negative fear, of not knowing what was going to happen, and a time of great frustration and stress and challenge. But if I look back on those blips on the screen of my life story, those times where the crescendo of what appeared to be negative and challenging experience in the moment, when I look back at the great tapestry of my life, what I can sense and begin to see is that each one of those times has been an invitation into greater trust. It's been an invitation to greater collaboration with God, with Spirit. It has been an invitation into deeper creative problem solving and growth. And each one has grown me more and more into a practice of abundance, into a practice of gratitude, and into a practice of tending to and deepening my faith. And maybe you are facing some of those challenges as well, or have faced some of them in your life. And maybe instead of finances, yours has been in terms of relationship, or in terms of a health challenge that you've been facing. And maybe when you come to these challenges, you can begin to get about that practice, as Eric Butterworth so graciously teaches in this book, of pearling. So what are the sand grains in your life right now that are asking for pearling, asking for a shift? What are those things that are invitations for your own transformation right now? And I thought we would share a brief meditation to take a present grain of sand into meditation and see if we can bring some of that pearl energy to it. And so I wonder if right now you begin by closing your eyes, bringing yourself fully present, focusing on your breath, beginning to just relax and to breathe. Allowing yourself to breathe for a few moments and bringing to mind one of those irritations, worries, perhaps even a negative string of thoughts that has been moving through your life right now. Something that has been bothering you. And just begin to breathe, bringing your attention to this irritation, allowing yourself to be fully present with it, this grain of sand. And as you pay attention to this present worry, begin to see it wrapped in love. Perhaps even picture a layer of divine light forming around it, encompassing fully this grain of sand that is your present worry, your present challenge. And allow yourself to begin to just hold it with compassion, to hold it gently and to see it differently, perhaps fully in the landscape of your life, just allowing it to be there. And perhaps if you are struggling to bring a softness to it, just let go a little bit more, opening a little bit more with faith. Perhaps opening with your intention right now to a sense of divine guidance, knowing that divine guidance is always, always found within you. And in this quietness, in this stillness, listen. Listen and see what it is that you might receive. Just knowing that this worry, this challenge, this irritation is always held in spirit. And opening to allowing Spirit, to allowing God in this moment to hold this. This too is held. Knowing that Spirit works for all things good in life. Inviting that principle right here. All things work together for the good. opening to that grander possibility that there is a greater good at work, even if it's not possible to touch or to feel or to know it in this moment, but just knowing that it is at work, that it is unfolding, even in this irritation, a greater good is unfolding. And now, seeing that grain of sand transforming in your imagination within, imagining that this radiant pearl is forming within your awareness. Knowing you have this power to shift from the negative to the positive, to bloom much like a lotus from the challenges, from the mud times of life. Knowing that this power is always existing within you. Feeling and knowing that power is right here, right now. And so begin to return your focus to the breath with a sense of gratitude, feeling and knowing that this transformative power is at work in your life. That the power of Spirit is right here, right now. And with that gratitude, releasing this meditation, saying thank you, Spirit. Returning to the present moment. Just feeling and knowing that your life, just like the oyster, we too are also called to get busy pearling when challenges, when worries, when daily irritations arise, that we can get busy pearling, and that whatever it is that you are facing, that you have that spiritual capacity to wrap every grain of sand of challenge in light and to transform that which is coming forth in your life for transformation into pearls of greater strength, into pearls of greater wisdom, even greater beauty. And so I close today with this affirmation that perhaps you'd like to bring into your own spiritual practice. This affirmation that says, I transform every grain of irritation, every grain of challenge into pearls of peace and wisdom. And when I encounter them, I get busy pearling. And so it is.